Hello everyone. In case you don't remember, my name is Christina Pitts and I'm an occupational therapy student at the University of St. Augustine. This is the last video, video 6, regarding developmental milestones. Before we begin, I just want it to be noted that I am a student and not a licensed practitioner. Today I will be discussing the typical developmental milestones for understanding and thinking skills in children, in addition to some red flags that might indicate a concern. The video will go over the developmental milestones for infants 0 to 12 months old, for toddlers 1 to 3 years old, for preschool age children 3 to 5 years old, and for school age children 5 to 7 plus years. Right from birth, children are aware of their surroundings and want to explore them. As your child plays and interacts with the people and objects around him or her, he and she learns about his or her body, his or her home, and the world around him or her. Between the ages of 0 and 4 months, a child typically sees clearly within 13 inches from his or her face, focuses on and follows moving objects, including human faces, begins to anticipate events such as sucking at the sight of a nipple, demands a lot of attention from his or her parents or caregivers, enjoys interactive play, and enjoys doing the same thing again and again. Between the ages of 4 and 8 months, a child typically recognizes faces, notices a difference between two people based on the way they look, sound, or feel, imitate the facial expressions of others, responds to familiar sounds, enjoys looking at other babies, enjoys pop-up toys that surprise him or her, and enjoys playing peekaboo. Red flags for cognitive development, 0 to 8 months. If you notice some of the following things by the time your child is 6 to 8 months old, you may want to talk to your doctor or to another health professional. Your child is not tracking objects with his or her eyes. Your child is not responding to sounds. Your child is not repeating actions to have pleasurable results. Your child avoids close contact or cuddling. Your child is inconsolable at night. Your child can't seem to self-soothe or calm him or herself. Or your child has no interest in games like peekaboo. Between the ages of 8 and 12 months, a child typically shows happiness to see his or her parent's face, his or her toys, or a mirror, knows strangers from his or her family and cries when his or her parents go away, give affection and love, pay attention to simple commands such as no and give it to me, have fear with new situations, understand that an object is still there when he or she can't see it, such as when it's hidden under a blanket, imitate gestures and actions, and enjoys looking at pictures and books. Red flags for cognitive development for 12 months or 1 year. If you notice some of the following things by the time your child is 12 months old or 1 year old, you may want to talk to your doctor or to another health professional. He or she doesn't search for hidden or removed objects. He or she tries to solve problems by just repeating actions instead of using trial and error. He or she is not anticipating the effects of his or her actions, such as when knocking down blocks. He or she is not showing interest in other children his or her age. He or she is not using toys for their intended purpose. He or she has extreme difficulty waiting for something that they want. He or she is very rigid about his or her routine, food items, clothing, etc. Or he has limited or fleeting eye contact with others. Between the ages of 12 and 24 months, or 1 to 2 years, a child typically recognizes him or herself in the mirror, begins to say no to bedtime and other requests, enjoys dancing to music, imitates adults' actions and words, understands words and commands and responds to them, begins to match similar objects, recognizes and finds familiar objects in storybooks with some help, understands the difference between you and me, and feels proud when doing things independently. Red flags for cognitive development, 2 years or 24 months. If you notice some of the following things by the time your child is 18 to 24 months old, or 1.5 to 2 years old, you may want to talk to your doctor or to another health professional. He or she doesn't understand the function of common objects, such as when you say find something you can eat instead of saying find a cookie. He or she doesn't imitate other people. He or she continues to mouth toys or is only interested in feeling or watching toys instead of playing with them. He or she constantly moves from one activity to another and is not able to stay in an activity for brief periods. Or he or she requires constant attention to stay at an activity. Between the ages of 2 and 3 years, or 24 and 36 months, a child typically understands simple stories, responds to simple directions, names some objects in a book, groups objects by category, such as animals, clothing, food, etc., plays pretend with dolls or stuffed animals, shows interest in wearing costumes, sorts shapes and colors, plays house, stacks rings on a peg in order of size, put together simple puzzles, like 3 to 4 piece inset puzzles, identifies him or herself in a mirror saying baby or his or her own name, tells others what he or she is doing, and learns to count 1, 2, 3. Red flags for cognitive development, 3 years or 36 months. If you notice some of the following things by the time your child is 3 years old or 36 months, you may want to talk to your doctor or to another health professional. He or she is not interested in pretend play. He or she is not able to do basic categorization, such as finding all the toys when you tell them to or finding all the clothes when you tell them to. He or she doesn't understand the functions of common objects, such as when you tell them to find something you cut with, they should be able to bring you scissors. He or she continues to mouth toys or is only interested in feeling or watching toys instead of playing with them. He or she constantly moves from one activity to another and is not able to stay in an activity for brief periods. Or he or she needs constant attention to stay at an activity to finish something. Between the ages of 3 and 4 years, or 36 and 48 months, a child is typically able to sort and match things, such as recognizing and matching colors, organize things by size, identify parts of a whole, such as the wheel of the car, draw a very simple picture and be able to tell you what it is, even though you might not recognize it yourself, use why and how questions, tell you his or her full name and age, play with an activity for a longer stretch of time, so 5 to 15 minutes, have a basic understanding of time, know the difference between past and present, and enjoy singing, dancing, or acting. Red flags for cognitive development, 4 years or 48 months. If you notice some of the following things by the time your child is 4 years old or 48 months, you may want to talk to your doctor or to another health professional. He or she is not able to recognize and point to at least 3 colors or shapes. He or she is not interested in pretend play. He or she constantly moves from one activity to another and is not able to stay with an activity for brief periods. He or she is not able to sort objects by their characteristics, such as by color, size, shape, etc. Or he or she is not able to complete a simple 4 to 6 piece interlocking puzzle. Between the ages of 4 and 5 years, a child typically plays with words, imitating and creating sounds, and making rhymes, points to and names many colors and shapes, learns to identify a few letters and numbers, draws a person with detail, draws, names, and describes pictures, counts objects up to 5, tells you where he or she lives, street name and town and city, follows the rules to games but sometimes change them as he or she goes, and recognizes his or her name when he or she sees it printed. Red flags for cognitive development, 5 years. If you notice some of the following things by the time your child is 5 years old, you may want to ask for help from your doctor or from another health professional. He or she is not able to name the basic colors and shapes. He or she does not understand the concept of past, present, and future. He or she is not interested in pretend play. He or she constantly moves from one activity to another and is not able to stay with an activity for brief periods. He or she is not able to understand the rules of a basic game such as memory, lotto, or other preschool games. He or she is not able to tell you basic facts about him or herself, such as full name, age, city he or she lives in, and street name. He or she is not able to count 5 objects, or he or she does not recognize his or her name when he or she sees it printed. Between the ages of 5 and 7 years, a child typically learns the fundamentals of reading, writing, and basic math, focuses on only one part of a situation. For example, he or she may believe that a tall, narrow bottle of soda contains more soda than a short, wide bottle because one is taller than the other. Be able to follow 2 to 3 step directions. For example, go to the kitchen, look in the cupboard by the stove, and get me a trash bag. Know his or her full name, age, and address, and be able to answer who, what, where, and why questions. Red flags for cognitive development, school age, children 5 to 7 plus years. If you have some of the following concerns, you may want to ask for help from your child's teacher. Your teacher may recommend that you seek further help from your doctor or another health professional. Your child does not seem to know basic concepts such as colors, shapes, or letters and numbers. Your child is very frustrated by school tasks and assignments. Your child cannot follow the rules of simple games or assignments. Your child does not seem to be able to do his or her homework, or your child has trouble staying focused on tasks at home or at school.